You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. LSU did hold an open practice, open to the media, I should say, Saturday in Tiger Stadium. Let me rephrase. About 30 minutes of the practice was open to the media in Tiger Stadium on Saturday, after which Brian Kelly met with reporters, discussed the practice, the scrimmage situations that took place on Saturday, and notably came out of it talking about his quarterbacks. One of the big questions that I've wondered and pondered and waited for an answer to is whether or not Brian Kelly was going to publicly announce a quarterback. Sometimes when you have quarterback battles, coaches just don't feel like there's a competitive advantage, or maybe it's more of a competitive disadvantage to publicly name a starter. Just let everybody find out when the first offense runs out for the first series of the first game. As we've talked about several times, precedent under Brian Kelly is that he names a starter. This happened a year ago when Jack Cohn was a transfer quarterback who went to Notre Dame from Wisconsin. Middle of August, Brian Kelly named Jack Cohn the starter. So it would lead you to believe that he's going to name a starter at some point, and he essentially confirmed that and pared down the quarterback race after Saturday.
It's pretty clear that it's Nussmeier and it's Daniels, and they just have more experience, than Walker Howard. Walker's done a great job, but I think his situation now would be an emergency situation, and can we redshirt him? Right, that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's a two-man race, and it's extremely competitive. Jaylen does some really good things. Obviously his ability to get the ball out of his hands quickly. It's not just a guy that runs. He threw the ball at a 65% completion ratio last year. Pushed the ball down the field very well today. Nuss made some really good plays as well. Unblocked edge player coming at him, gets the ball out of his hands. So this is going to be, look, I wouldn't be surprised if they both get the opportunity to play at some time this year, but we're going to have to name a starter, and that's going to happen here pretty quickly.
We're going to have to name a starter, and that's going to happen here pretty quickly. So my feeling on this has been when you get to the halfway point of camp, really when you break camp and begin practice for Florida State, is when you've got to have your guy named. And I think that's going to be after Tuesday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the LSU scrimmage is going to happen in Tiger Stadium. 4:25 in the afternoon, the media can watch the entire practice. The media is going to see the entire practice. They're going to watch the entire scrimmage, and then Brian Kelly's going to meet with the reporters afterwards, and you're not going to really be able to hide what you're doing if you're going to allow the media to see the whole thing. So my assumption is maybe even as early as Tuesday evening after that practice, which is open to the media, we may learn who the starter is going to be for LSU. And there's a lot of reason to believe that it's going to be Jayden Daniels, most notably because of his experience, which Brian Kelly kind of detailed on Saturday, maybe tipping his hand, as that's the thing that kind of matters the most right now.
I would say probably management of the offense in terms of getting people lined up, getting the offense running smoothly, efficiently. And I think the guys feel a sense of calm when he's out there because he's done it before. He's getting guys lined up. There's a authority. I mean, the way he talks to the guys out there, we call it clap, which is clear, loud, as in order, and then there's a pause, the acronym clap. It's a military term. When they're asked for their leaders to talk, they use the acronym clap, and he's clear, he's loud, he talks like it's in order, and then there's always a pause so you can hear it. And I think that helps a lot because people know he's played, and when he's out there, guys really tune into him, and I think that that's a comfort level.
If LSU were opening the season against Southern, I think there's a really good chance they may give Garrett Nussmeier the first opportunity as the guy who's been here. They'd both play, but they give maybe Garrett the first opportunity. Because you're opening against Florida State, and I've felt this all along, like for as long as we've had this conversation, this has been my feeling, that you're going to go with the guy that started 30 career games, who does the things athletically that you want your quarterback to do. both are going to play, and I don't know if Jayden Daniels is going to play well enough to keep the job all year and be the guy, but my assumption is and has always been that he'll get the first snap against Florida State, but they'll both play. But you're at a point now, if you just look at the calendar, Florida State plays on Saturday against Duquesne. Florida State is in game week. Mike Norvell on Monday had a press conference previewing game week. I mean, Florida State plays on Saturday. They play Duquesne. They get a dress rehearsal. Again, they have absolutely no shot of losing, but they get a dress rehearsal against Duquesne on Saturday. And LSU's got to start getting ready for Florida State, which is why Brian Kelly is going to very quickly here name a starting quarterback for that game, because the benefit for LSU at this point is that every single rep has to go to the ones. You heard Brian Kelly there talk about cadence. All of that matters. You have a new center, you have a new battery, center quarterback. Like, every rep they can get learning the cadence with each other matters. The offensive line, listening to the quarterback's cadence, matters. The timing for the receivers and the quarterback matters. The timing for the running backs and the quarterback on handoffs and tosses matters. All of that, like every single rep at this point, which is why if your sole focus has got to be Florida State now, you're turning into game mode, you can't keep divvying up reps among the two guys. You got to make your decision. And it sounds like that's where Brian Kelly is. The other, maybe, if there's a 1A, 1B, of course, quarterback, if that's 1A, then 1B is going to be the offensive line. And when we met with Brian Kelly midweek, he did say that they were going to try a different look on the offensive line with Cam Wire at right tackle, kicking Bradford into guard. And they did, in fact. He also mentioned that Charles Turner and Marcus Dummerville were going to get first-team reps, although they ran with the twos on Saturday. But here was Brian Kelly after Saturday's practice on experimenting with the offensive line.
I think I alluded to it the other day. I wanted to see Cam Wire out at right tackle. We moved Bradford in at guard. We moved Frazier over to left to get that flavor as well. Like some of the things that Bradford does at guard, he's big physical on double teams. So, that's still an area that, we'll continue to look at. But we like 7 or 8 guys there on the offensive line that are doing really well. Dellinger had 2 really good days snapping the ball. So you guys didn't hear me yelling and screaming at him today. So that's a really good sign.
That is a fantastic sign, which I think maybe was the biggest offensive takeaway that we talked about after the scrimmage we got to see on Wednesday last week, was the struggles with the shotgun snap. But it's also why you can't take a snapshot of one day and exacerbate it over an entire camp. As much as we might see one guy play well one day, look, Dellinger struggled with the snap the day we got to see. But then Brian Kelly told you he had 2 great days snapping after that. So developing consistency there, certainly we're getting a lot more access than we've ever gotten. I mean, quite literally ever, which is wonderful. We also don't see everything, so sometimes we have to rely on Brian Kelly to say, look, Dellinger had a couple of really good days snapping the football, which is fantastic to see coming out of what we saw last Wednesday. So when you look ahead for the remainder of the week, LSU's they're off today. Brian Kelly gave the team off on Monday. He said he likes to give the team the day off on the first day of class. Monday's the first day of class at LSU. So they're off. They'll be in Tiger Stadium Tuesday afternoon, and then they'll start gearing up toward Florida State. The other bit of good news from Saturday, Jack Besh and Chris Hilton, who have both been limited throughout fall camp with injuries. Both guys were out there and participated fully, which is great to see. You have got so much depth at receiver. Let me rephrase that. You've got so much talent at receiver. You maybe don't have tons of numbers, but your first 6 or 7 guys are all really exceptionally good. Nick Storrs and the tight end and Landon Ibieta, the freshman receiver, were not there. Ibieta's not been there for several weeks now, certainly at least during our media viewing period. So what I was told, he's dealing with a medical issue. I don't think it's tremendously serious. Not anything that would cost him the season or anything like that, but just dealing with an injury, and they'll expect to see him back pretty soon. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.